The spotted hyena is standing over a lion 3 times her size, and she is screaming. Not fleeing, not cowering, screaming. This high-pitched, unhinged, cascading sound that bounces off every rock in the Serengeti, like someone dropped a telephone into a blender. The lion is confused. The hyena is getting louder. 2 more hyenas arrive, and now all 3 of them are doing it. This cackling, wheezing, escalating chaos. And the lion, who could theoretically eat all of them, takes one slow look and walks away. The hyenas eat his kill. Yep, that's me. You're probably wondering how I ended up here. Oh, hey there. I spent the better part of my living years in East Africa, specifically the Ngorongoro crater in Tanzania, watching hyenas. Not because I planned to, I was there for the wildebeest. The hyenas had other plans. One night, a clan of about 30 of them moved through our camp, knocked over every single piece of equipment we had, investigated my sleeping bag while I was inside it, and made that sound, that laugh, approximately 4 feet from my face at 2 in the morning. I did not die that night, but I did not sleep again for 3 days. I did eventually die. Different story, but since then I've had unlimited time and, as it turns out, excellent seats. And I have been watching hyenas ever since, for what feels like several geological epochs, because the more you watch them, the more you realize that almost everything you think you know about hyenas is completely embarrassingly wrong. They are not scavengers. They are not cowards. They are not even remotely related to dogs. And that laugh is not laughter. It is one of the most sophisticated communication systems in the animal kingdom, and it contains information so specific that it can change the outcome of a fight before the fight even starts. Let's talk about it. Here's the thing about the hyena giggle. It is not a giggle. Wildlife documentaries love to play it over footage of hyenas skulking around a carcass like nature's janitors, implying that the sound is some kind of deranged chuckling at their own villainous behavior. This framing is wrong in every possible direction. The sound is called a whoop when used for long-distance contact, and a giggle, yes, scientists actually call it that in the literature, which I respect enormously, when produced in high-stress social situations. And what researchers discovered when they actually analyzed the giggle spectrographically is that it carries at least 2 distinct pieces of individual identity information encoded inside it, the age of the caller and the social rank of the caller, before they see a single thing. This was demonstrated in a study by Nicholas Mathavon and colleagues in 2010, published in BMC Ecology. They played recordings of hyena giggles to wild hyenas and watched their reactions. Hyenas responded differently depending on the rank information embedded in the call, whether it signaled a dominant or subordinate individual. Even when the caller was completely out of sight, the sound alone was enough to alter behavior. You have caller ID, hyenas have this. But before we get there, we need to clear up the single biggest misconception people carry about hyenas, because until you fix this, everything else is going to land wrong. Myth 1, true or false? Hyenas are scavengers who steal from lions. False, dramatically, historically, provably false. Hans Kruk, the ecologist who essentially invented the scientific study of hyena behavior, and whose 1972 book I have had approximately 40 years to read thoroughly, documented through direct observation in the Serengeti and Ngorongoro that spotted hyenas kill approximately 70 to 95% of what they eat. They are active hunters, coordinated hunters, strategic hunters. The confusion happened because early researchers were active during daylight hours. Hyenas are primarily nocturnal, so researchers kept arriving at dawn to find hyenas eating carcasses and lions nearby, and they assumed the hyenas had stolen from the lions. What was actually happening frequently was the reverse. The hyenas had made the kill overnight, and the lions had stolen it. Then dawn arrived and the scientists wrote it down backwards. The real ratio, when night observations were included, flipped completely. Lions in Ngorongoro stole from hyenas more often than hyenas stole from lions. The people we spent decades calling shameless scavengers were actually supporting lions by accident. The lions were the kleptomaniacs, the hyenas were the ones running a legitimate hunting operation, and we got it wrong for about 40 years because we kept going to bed too early. Humans. Fast fact 1. Spotted hyenas have a bite force of around 1,100 pounds per square inch. For comparison, a lion's is approximately 650. A hyena can crack a giraffe femur, one of the densest bones in nature, and then digest the marrow from it. Their stomach acid is strong enough to dissolve anthrax spores. They eat the parts of a carcass that would kill almost anything else, and they're fine. They are not scavengers, they are just efficient. Which brings us back to the laugh, because the reason the giggle encodes rank information is that rank in a spotted hyena clan is everything. And I mean everything, in a way that makes office politics look like a gentle disagreement about whose turn it is to refill the printer paper. Spotted hyenas live in fission-fusion societies, clans that can number up to 80 individuals, but that constantly split into smaller subgroups for hunting and then rejoin. This means that hyenas are constantly encountering clan members they haven't seen in days or weeks in contexts where the social stakes are high: who gets to eat first, who mates, who has to stand down. Resolving that question through direct physical confrontation every single time would be catastrophically expensive. Fighting is dangerous and wastes energy that could be used for hunting. So instead, they have the giggle. When a hyena is being chased, harassed, or socially pressured, it giggles, and the specific acoustic structure of that giggle tells every other hyena present exactly what the social math looks like. High-pitched, rapidly ascending giggles signal subordinate status and high stress. The pitch and rhythm carry rank. This means a hyena on the losing end of a confrontation can broadcast its position instantly, allowing the dominant animal to make a decision, press the advantage, or accept the submission without a single bite being exchanged. It's a real-time social status update delivered at volume across a distance of several kilometers. We developed LinkedIn, they developed this. I'll let you decide who made better use of their cognitive resources. Here is a behavior that wildlife documentaries almost never explain, probably because it looks alarming and they don't want to describe what's happening. When two spotted hyenas greet each other after being apart, they engage in what researchers call the greeting ceremony. They approach, stand parallel, each facing the other's tail, and then both hyenas extend one rear leg slightly while the other sniffs their genitals. This is not as strange as it sounds once you understand what's being communicated. Spotted hyenas have extraordinarily complex and individually distinct genital anatomy, and the scent signals in that region carry enormous amounts of social and reproductive information: identity, reproductive status, stress hormone levels, recent diet, and social rank. The greeting ceremony is essentially a rapid biochemical status check. Two individuals who haven't seen each other in a while reestablishing exactly where they both stand. You shake hands, they do this. Both methods transfer information. One of them is actually more efficient. What makes this behavior particularly notable is that hyenas maintain incredibly detailed social memories. Research by Kay Holcamp's lab at Michigan State, and if you're curious about hyenas and haven't heard of Kay Holcamp, she has spent over 30 years in the field and is essentially the world's foremost authority on spotted hyena cognition. Anyway, her research showed that hyenas can remember the social relationships of other individuals, tracking not just their own rank relative to others, but also the rank relationships between third parties who aren't even present. They know the hierarchy of their clan the way you know the org chart at your job, but without, presumably, checking it on their phone. Speaking of hierarchy, here is something documentaries mention but rarely explain well. Spotted hyena clans are female-dominated. The lowest-ranking female outranks the highest-ranking male. Cubs of even the most subordinate females outrank all adult males from birth, not because they're physically dominant, but because they're supported by their mother, who is supported by her daughters, who form the enduring core of the clan. Males are essentially peripheral. They're present, they contribute, but they do not run anything. What's genuinely unusual from a mammalian standpoint is that this hierarchy is maintained through active social support rather than just by size or strength. Females are roughly the same size as males, sometimes larger, but the real mechanism of dominance is coalitional. Females back each other up, and they remember who backed them up and when and what was at stake. The rank a female holds is significantly determined by the rank her mother held. Cubs learn their social position partly through observation, watching how her mother is treated, watching how she treats others. This is social learning. This is transmitted culture. This is, scientifically speaking, a really sophisticated thing to be doing with your brain when you're also capable of cracking a femur with your teeth. Evolution handed the hyena this strange, baroque, matriarchal social system, and then also gave it one of the most powerful jaws on the continent, just in case the politics didn't work out. Fast fact 2.
The spotted hyena is not closely related to dogs. It's not even in the same suborder. Hyenas belong to the suborder Phelimiformes. They're more closely related to cats, meerkats, and mongooses. The convergent evolution that made them look vaguely dog-like is one of nature's great con jobs. Every time someone calls a hyena a dog in a documentary, a population ecologist winces somewhere in the field. So let's talk about the cognitive moment that produces that sound, because it's not involuntary. Research by Frederick Thanes and colleagues suggests that the giggle is a voluntary, controlled vocalization, not a reflexive stress response. Hyenas modulate it, they choose when to produce it, and they adjust its acoustic features based on context. This means that when a hyena giggles during a confrontation, it is making a decision. It's not just screaming because it's scared, it's broadcasting a message with intent to a specific audience about a specific social situation.
The cognitive requirement for this is not trivial. To use a vocalization strategically, to choose to produce a status signal, to calibrate its content, and to direct it toward individuals who need the information requires a level of social awareness that we don't typically associate with an animal best known for its ability to eat anthrax. Think of it as the difference between yelling because you stubbed your toe and calling your lawyer. One is reflexive, one is a considered response to a social situation with known rules and anticipated consequences. Hyenas are doing the second one. And then there's the whoop. This is the other major hyena vocalization, and it sounds nothing like the giggle. If the giggle is chaotic and percussive, the whoop is almost melodic, a rising call that drops suddenly at the end, audible for up to 5 kilometers depending on conditions. Hyenas use it for long-distance contact. I am here, where are you? But what researchers found when they analyzed whoops is that they also carry individual identity information. Every hyena's whoop has a distinctive acoustic signature, and other clan members can recognize specific individuals from their whoops alone at full distance before any visual contact. This is equivalent to recognizing a voice on the phone from a distance of 3 miles in the dark while possibly being chased by something. The practical value of this is enormous. A hyena separated from its clan, which happens during long hunts, territorial patrols, or just because the Serengeti is large and confusing, can whoop to locate allies, and the allies who respond, having identified the caller by their acoustic signature, know immediately who needs help, what rank that individual is, and therefore whether it's worth the energy to converge. The sound isn't just help, it's this specific individual of this specific rank needs support, and other hyenas make decisions based on all of it. You take a wrong turn at dusk. Ngorongoro, you're maybe 200 meters from your vehicle and the light is dropping fast. You hear it before you see anything, a sound that seems to come from multiple directions at once, low and rhythmic, almost like something breathing at scale. Then the whoops start, one, then another, then a third from somewhere behind you. Not responses, coordination. You don't know this yet, but you're between a clan and a carcass they found 20 minutes ago. You are not what they want, but you are inconveniently located relative to what they do want, and there are now 11 of them that you can see and an unknown number you can't, and they are not confused about the situation at all. The giggling starts. That sound is not laughter. That sound is a real-time social network processing your position in relation to their resource. They're not threatening you. They're updating each other on logistics. Move, calmly, diagonally, you'll be fine. I, on a different evening in a different decade, was not calm, and I was only mostly fine. Here's where the evolutionary logic gets genuinely strange, because the giggle being an identity and rank broadcast has a cost. If you can be identified by your voice, and your voice also tells everyone exactly how much power you have, then every time you call for help, you're also announcing your weaknesses to every competitor within earshot. So why did evolution keep this? The answer is probably in the structure of hyena society itself. Because clans are stable, long-lived, and built on lasting coalitions, there are more benefits to transparent social communication within the group than there are costs from rivals outside it. The system evolved in a context where knowing who your allies are and being known as a reliable ally is more valuable than strategic opacity. Hyenas are not playing poker, they're playing the long game, and in the long game, being recognizable and rank consistent is actually an asset. You build a reputation, your giggle precedes you. Compare this to solitary predators, leopards for instance, who are famously quiet, who go to elaborate lengths to avoid being detectable, and who gain nothing from broadcasting their presence because they have no allies to signal to and everything to lose by being found. Same continent, completely different communication strategy, because the social structure is different.
Evolution didn't design a sound, it designed a sound for a specific social system, and the social system and the sound co-evolved into each other over somewhere between 1 and 2 million years. I've watched a lot of this play out in real time. 2 million years is not very long when you've been dead for a while. Myth chew, true or false? True or false, hyenas are stupid animals that rely on brute force rather than intelligence. False, profoundly false. In cognitive testing, spotted hyenas consistently outperform chimpanzees on certain cooperative problem-solving tasks. A 2009 study by Christine Drea at Duke University presented spotted hyenas and chimpanzees with a problem that required two individuals to pull two ropes simultaneously to receive a food reward. The hyenas figured it out faster than the chimps and with significantly less conflict between partners. They also solved it spontaneously, without training, in groups. The researchers suggested this is because hyenas have to coordinate socially in the field, constantly, synchronizing hunts, managing complex clan dynamics, resolving resource disputes without immediately resorting to violence. They've been solving coordination problems for millions of years, and their brains show it.
What they're less good at is problems that require individually innovative tool use, the kind of tasks that chimps excel. And this makes perfect sense. Hyenas live in stable social groups where the relevant intelligence is social and cooperative. Chimps, who are more solitary foragers in some contexts, develop more individual problem-solving flexibility. Different evolutionary pressures produce different cognitive architectures. The hyena isn't dumb. The hyena is smart in exactly the way it needs to be smart. That's how evolution works. It doesn't hand out general intelligence like party favors. It builds specific tools for specific problems. We, incidentally, also thought we were getting general intelligence. We're still debating that one. Let's talk real numbers for a moment. Spotted hyenas in the Serengeti Mara ecosystem number somewhere between 7,000 and 10,000 individuals across roughly 30,000 square kilometers of habitat. A single clan's territory averages around 40 to 80 square kilometers, and territorial boundaries are maintained through scent marking. Hyenas have a specialized gland called the hyena butter gland, which deposits a strong-smelling paste on grass stalks along borders, and through group vocalizations, including, yes, the whoop. What these territorial whoops accomplish is remarkable. Studies have shown that after a group whoop display at a clan boundary, intrusions from neighboring clans drop significantly in the following days. The vocalizations are doing territorial work in real time. Hyenas are maintaining a 40 square kilometer land claim with sound. Average hunting success rate for spotted hyenas? Approximately 30% on solo hunts, rising to over 60% on coordinated group hunts involving 4 or more individuals. For comparison, lions succeed on roughly 25 to 30% of attempts. The animals we spent decades calling failed scavengers have a comparable or higher hunting success rate than the animal we culturally designated king of the savanna. The lion thing was a whole PR campaign. The hyena never had an agent. Here is something genuinely bizarre about hyena reproduction that most people have never heard, and that I'm going to phrase as carefully as possible. Spotted hyena females give birth through a structure that, anatomically, makes the birthing process extremely dangerous. The birth canal is effectively extended through a structure called the pseudopenis. Not a true penis, a different structure that evolved to resemble one in ways so convincing that early researchers were genuinely baffled. And this canal is narrow. First-time mothers have a mortality rate of roughly 10% during first births, and first litter mortality is around 60%. Evolution approved this. It looked at a system that kills 10% of first-time mothers and kills the majority of first litters, and it kept it for millions of years. Why? The leading hypothesis involves the role of androgens, male hormones, and fetal development. Spotted hyena females have unusually high androgen levels throughout gestation, which are thought to contribute to the hyper-aggressive competitive temperament that makes them effective hunters and dominant clan members. The anatomy is a side effect of the hormonal environment that produces the personality. And the personality is apparently valuable enough to the clan that evolution accepted the reproductive cost. This is less a story about clever adaptation and more a story about evolution running a cost-benefit analysis, discovering the cost column was genuinely alarming, shrugging and approving it anyway. I have been watching nature operate for a long time. I have seen a lot of questionable decisions. This one is up there. Fast Fact 3. Hyena cubs are born with their eyes open and their teeth already erupted. Unlike most carnivore cubs, which are born helpless and stay that way for months, spotted hyena cubs are immediately mobile and immediately capable of biting. Within hours of birth and litters of two, cubs will sometimes fight, sometimes fatally. This sibling competition is thought to establish early dominance relationships and potentially affect the survival of whichever cub secures priority access to nursing. Nature handed the hyena a complicated enough birth to routinely injure the mother, and then the cubs start fighting before the den is dry. The hyena did not choose easy. But here is where the story gets genuinely complicated, because not all hyenas operate this way. There are 4 species in the family Hyenae: spotted, striped, brown, and aardwolf, and they are radically different animals. The aardwolf doesn't even eat meat, it eats termites, exclusively. It has a long, sticky tongue, weak teeth that it barely uses, and absolutely no interest in the social drama that defines its spotted cousin's existence. It's a hyena in the way that a bat is a mammal, technically accurate, wildly misleading as a characterization. The aardwolf lives alone or in small family groups, is shy, and has never scared anyone's camp because it was too busy quietly licking termite mounds in the dark. The striped hyena, which ranges across North Africa and the Middle East into South Asia, is more of a true scavenger than the spotted, but even here, scavenging is a hunting strategy, not a character flaw. Striped hyenas fill a specific ecological niche as processors of carcasses in arid environments where nothing else can reliably access those resources. They are doing necessary work. Brown hyenas found in southern Africa are somewhere in between, partially social, partially scavenging, producing a distinctive whooping call that's different from the spotted hyena's call, but serves a similar long-distance contact function. Every time you say hyena, you're actually referring to 4 different evolutionary experiments on the same theme, like saying cat and meaning everything from a house tabby to a lion. The spotted hyena is the outlier in almost every way: most social, most vocal, most cognitively complex, most ecologically dominant, and it's the one we've spent the most time getting completely wrong. Let's go back to that opening scene, the hyena standing over a lion, screaming. Why was she laughing? Because she was being chased. The lion had come to steal the carcass. The hyena, who had been feeding first, ran, and as she ran, she giggled. The giggle meant, I am being displaced by a dominant competitor. I am subordinate in this moment. I am stressed. Come help. The other hyenas who arrived weren't arriving because they thought something was funny. They arrived because they recognized the caller's identity from her giggle, assessed the situation from its acoustic content, determined that the math had shifted in their favor. 3 hyenas against 1 lion is different from 1 hyena against 1 lion, and converged. The lion, who is not stupid, also processed this math and left. No fight, no blood, no wasted energy. A social problem solved by sound, individual recognition, reputation, and the credible threat of a coalition. The giggle was not chaotic, it was a precision instrument. It called exactly the right individuals, communicated exactly the right information, and produced exactly the right behavioral outcome in seconds. What we hear as deranged animal laughter is, in the context of hyena communication, the equivalent of a 3-word text to a group chat that gets 11 people off their couches in under 60 seconds. I spent 20 years thinking it was just noise.
Than you ever imagined. The hyena does not need your approval. It needed your attention, and for about 2 million years, it did not get the right kind. That's changing now, slowly. The field data is extraordinary, the researchers are extraordinary, and the animal, which was never anything other than what it is, just keeps on giggling into the dark and running a matriarchal society at scale, and cracking femurs, and occasionally running off a lion who thought the kill was already his. You should go watch them sometime, respectfully, from the right distance, at night. You'll hear it, that sound that doesn't mean what you thought it meant, rising out of the dark from an animal that knows exactly who its allies are, and exactly where they are, and exactly what rank they hold. And you'll feel, for the first time maybe, like you understand what it's saying. If you want more videos like this, subscribe.